I am here to welcome you all to this conference, which is the first of its kind. We have here many representatives from a large number of Asian countries, eminent demographers, and experts from various other countries. The subjects you are going to tackle are of high importance to all of us, indeed to the world at large, but more particularly to Asia. We are looking forward to this conference and the advice that all of you may give so that we can tackle these problems effectively. Our country has gone in for planning for economic and social growth. But it is obvious that planning depends on whom you plan for, how many people you plan for. Unless we have a fair idea of the population of a country as it is going to be, it is difficult to plan. Population growth becomes highly important not only for planning but for the social well being of the country. We in India have been trying to tackle this problem as best as we could. I confess that we have not succeeded remarkably, and the growth of population in this big country is rather alarming. It is not merely a question of providing food for a growing population, although that is a primary consideration, but generally it is a question of providing the means for a good life, a healthy life for all the people who live in the country. We have thus to face a kind of race between the rate of economic growth and the rate at which population grows. Obviously, unless there is a marked difference between the two, there won't be much economic growth. As population grows, it rather overwhelms the efforts we make towards economic growth. However much we may try, we do try to increase the pace of economic growth, the fact of population growing even at a reduced pace comes in the way of any marked improvement. I would like to congratulate the e-cafe and the associate organizations who have convened this conference. The e-cafe has recently held a very successful conference here, I think, to discuss economic and trade matters. This brought together representatives of various countries in Asia and made them view the problems of this region in an integrated way. I believe very good work has been done and I congratulate the authorities. Although we are primarily concerned with food production, there are many other things which affect us as population growth goes on. Immediately, there is the question of schools, health measures, and housing facilities, which have all to be increased very rapidly in order to come anywhere near the level we want. Therefore, apart from its political and economic aspects, it becomes a social problem of great magnitude. It is fairly well known that countries which are underdeveloped and which are relatively poor appear to have more rapid population growth. I believe there is a tendency among the affluent countries also to increase their population. This policy may not affect them very much at present, but ultimately it is also bound to affect them in other ways. Anyhow, this is a problem of world importance because it will create all kinds of social conflicts and ultimately political conflicts and the like. Obviously, this cannot be felt to take its own course because that course would bring tremendous difficulties in its trail. We have to tackle it with some foresight and with some efforts at planning. In the main, the countries of Asia are most affected by this, and I suppose that all of them have their experiences and their suggestion to make. I imagine that Japan has succeeded most in dealing with this problem. We will be glad to have the advice of Japanese experts who have come here on how we should deal with our problem, and other countries will also profit by it. Possibly this conference is the first effort on behalf on the associated organizations of the United Nations on behalf of the e-cafe to deal with social problems in this way. They have been dealing with economic problems and they brought to bear on them the combined experience and wisdom of the countries associated with them. Now, importance of social problem is being felt more and more. A new advance in this direction is being made by eCafe. I think this is to be welcomed, but economic and social problems are so intimately connected that you cannot separate them. Therefore, I welcome particularly this conference, which we will deal mainly with population growth and also other problems connected with it. After all, we are aiming at the social advancement of our people, and unless we advance as a whole, mere economic growth which might be unbalanced may not be lead to the results we aim at. I trust, therefore, that this aspect of the problem should also be considered. I am grateful to you for inviting me here today, though I rather doubt if I can help you very much in your deliberations. All I can do is to encourage you and to express the goodwill and the earnest desire of the government to see that science flourishes in India and scientists have every opportunity to do good work. My friend has surveyed the field of our work here fairly comprehensively, what has been done, what is being done, and to some extent what he hopes will be done. Largely, I agree with what he has said. A little more than 5 years ago, we passed the Scientific Policy Resolution. I was reading it today and I felt that it was a good resolution. If we had to sit down to draft it today, probably it would not be very difficult from what we did then. The question that arises now is how far have we lived up to it? We have perhaps not implemented it as fully as many of us has hoped. I think there is a general appreciation in India of the importance of science and technology. Its importance is no doubt growing in our universities and special institutions. More and more students are taking to the study of technical and scientific subjects. Yet I do not suppose it will be true to say that the background of journal thinking in India is governed the educational process and the industrial and technological changes that are coming about in the country. As a matter of fact, the two are closely allied. There is one criticism that is often made about the financial resources that are made available for scientific work. Although we are now spending more on scientific work than previously, it is, I suppose, true to say that we are rather slow moving in that direction, and some of our scientific work has suffered because of lack of money. Some months back, a committee was appointed, I think, with Dr. Bhabha as chairman to look into this matter and to recommend what more could be done to help scientific research and also where it is possible to economize. The object of that committee was really to encourage useful and profitable expenditure for scientific research. We did not want merely to say that so many crores of rupees would go into scientific research, but rather to have it examined how it should be done. That committee, so far as I know, has not yet produced any report or recommendations. But I wish to assure you that in spite of our very considerable difficulties at the present moment because of the emergency and for other reasons, government will not hesitate to supply more funds for scientific research provided some kind of a reasoned approach is made. It is not enough merely to say give more funds, but if it is explained where more funds are required, I am sure, and I have in fact been told by our finance minister that he will certainly meet such demands whenever necessary. Ultimately, it is the educational apparatus behind all that this counts, especially universities and specialized technical institutions. They are growing, I hope they are growing both in quantity